Samuel said to all Israel, I have listened to everything you said to me and have set a king over you. Now you have a king as your leader. As for me, I'm old and gray. My sons are here with you. I have been your leader from my youth until this day. Here I stand, testify against me in the presence of the Lord and his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? From whose hand have I accepted a bribe to make me shut my eyes? If I have done any of these things, I will make it right. You have not cheated or oppressed us, they replied. You have not taken anything from anyone's hand. Samuel said to them, The Lord is witness against you, and also his anointed is witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand. He is witness, they said. Then Samuel said to the people, It is the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your ancestors out of Egypt. Now then, stand here, because I'm going to confront you with evidence before the Lord as to all the righteous acts performed by the Lord for you and your ancestors. After Jacob entered Egypt, they cried to the Lord for help, and the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your ancestors out of Egypt and settled them in this place. But they forgot their God, so he sold them into the hand of Sisera, the commander of the army of Hazor, and into the hands of the Philistines and the king of Moab, who fought against them. They cried out to the Lord and said, We have sinned, we have forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashereths. Now deliver us from the hands of our enemies, and we will serve you. Then the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Barak, Japhath, and Samuel, and he delivered you from the hands of your enemies all around you, so that you lived in safety. But when you saw that Nahash, king of the Amorites, was moving against you, you said to me, No, we want a king to rule over us, even though the Lord your God was king. Now here is the king you have chosen, the one you have asked for. See, the Lord has set a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve and obey him and do not rebel against his commands, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. But if you do not obey the Lord, and if you rebel against his commands, his hand will be against you as it was against your ancestors. Now then, stand still and see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest now? I will call on the Lord to send thunder and rain, and you will realize what an evil thing you did in the eyes of the Lord when you asked for a king. Then Samuel called on the Lord, and that same day the Lord sent thunder and rain. So all the people stood in awe of the Lord and Samuel. The people said to Samuel, Pray to the Lord your God for your servants so that we will not die. For we have added to all our other sins the evil of asking for a king. Do not be afraid, Samuel replied. You have done this evil, yet do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Do not turn away after useless idols. They can do you no good, nor can they rescue you because they are useless. For the sake of his great name, the Lord will not reject his people because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by falling prey to you. And I will teach you the way that is good and right. But be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart. Consider what great things he has done for you. Yet, if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king will perish. That is First Samuel 12, and there's just so much to unpack in there. As a jumping off point, I think the idea here would be who has been given to me and what shape will they be in when I step back. As business owners, there's going to be a day when what we've built, what we've managed, we're going to end up exiting. We're going to exit because we give it to our children. We're going to exit because we sell it, or we're going to exit because it simply doesn't work out. And there's this idea of who, what person, or what people have been given to me, and what shape will they be in when I step back or when I close my doors. As a business owner, I'm coming to the Bible this year to understand how it can provide scaffolding for what I do every single day. I lead my family, I lead businesses, and I have responsibilities. And I find that there's not a lot of great opportunities to interact with the Bible to understand how it might impact me in the capacity as a business owner. And as I come to First Samuel 12, what's happening here is that Samuel, his life is coming to an end. So he's basically recapping what the Lord has done for the Hebrews, for the Israelites. And Samuel had the Spirit of God on him. So he was a prophet. He was the voice of God on earth because prior to Christ dying on a cross for us 2,000 years ago, the Lord would appoint his Holy Spirit, would put his spirit on prophets and individuals and speak to the people. Samuel was this guy. Samuel was the one who all of the Hebrews went to and said, "We need a king. Every other nation in the world has a king. We want a king." And Samuel's like, "Look, you don't want a king. Kings are not good. God is your king. God is the one that you are supposed to serve. If a king is placed over you, then you will be subdued by that king." And if you've listened to this for some time, you'll know that I believe God has given us authority to subdue the earth, the things in the earth, the friction in the earth, the things that happen in earth, but not to subdue people. We're to serve people. But the people relented and said, "Hey, Samuel, we want a king." So God said, "Okay, Samuel, tell them they can have a king. Go find Saul." Saul became the first king, David's the next king, and so on and so forth. But this idea of how, kind of what state are the people in that are under my care after they're no longer under my care. And I think that as we think through, or as I think through stepping back, I want to make sure that people can still thrive. So whether I'm responsible for them in the business, or if I've sold the business, or if I've exited the business, or if I've taken a step back from the business, or heaven forbid we fold one of the businesses, that people are still going to be able to thrive and not deteriorate. And I see this reflected in the life of Jesus. In fact, there's a couple of passages that speak to this. And specifically, Jesus says in John 6:37 to 40, that he's speaking and he says, "I've taken responsibility for everyone that the Father, God, has entrusted to him." So we see Jesus admitting this, that Jesus has taken responsibility for the people that God has sent his way to teach them, to answer their questions, to pray for them, to heal for them. And so he's done the job. He also says in John 18:1 to 9, that even as he was being arrested and about to be hung on a cross, that he continues to shield his disciples and he tells the soldiers that, "Hey, I'm going to be okay. Let these guys go. I'm not going anywhere. You're going to hang me on a cross, or you're going to take me to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and you're going to give me a trial. Like, I'm good. I'll go. Like, but make sure my disciples, you don't touch them." In John 14:1 to 4, that he steps back and he tells the disciples that, "Do not let your hearts be troubled, because you too are going to have the opportunity to serve. You'll be responsible for people, and hopefully you can examine my life as Christ and do the same thing." And so I'm very much challenged by that as a business owner. I think many business owners will come into their business to provide a product or service, to solve a problem, to remove friction in the earth. And I think that that's righteous and that's holy and that's awesome. And that's certainly what I focus on. I also think many business owners come into that same business not understanding that they are going into that business to serve people so that they can thrive. People are not just a number, people are not just a resource on your profit and loss statement. People are, I believe, the whole reason why we even have businesses. We're meant to serve people who are going to serve customers through the products and services that remove friction in the world. I mean, it's very simple, and I think it's very, very fulfilling. Um, Jesus, in doing this, as he's preparing people, I mean, we're still talking about Jesus 2,000 years later, and it's pretty amazing in his life. And part of the reason I'm going after this biblical scaffolding this year is because his life today is still countercultural and scandalous. Any business book you read, any self-help book that you read, it's all about me. Hashtag blessed life. It's all about me. Jesus comes along and says, "You know what? Actually, it's not about you. It's about everyone else, right? The last shall be first, the first shall be last." I mean, we can just keep going through passage after passage, but his life is still being talked about today and being used to influence people so that they can thrive. Now, I'm not Jesus, but I think there's some scaffolding to use there. And looking at Samuel, Samuel's trying to say to everyone that he has been responsible for, "Hey, I'm about to leave. These are the things you need to remember." He takes them through a quick, brief history of their background, reminds them that they're the ones who asked for a king. And then he says, "Make sure that you fear the Lord, serve him faithfully with all your heart, consider what great things he has done for you." And that's it. Good luck. And I hope that it works out. Well, Hebrews, Israelites, Jewish people, they're still here today as well, holding on to the promises of the Old Testament. They haven't made their way all the way to the New Testament. That's a different podcast I think you can listen to. But I take a lot from that. And then if I double check it against the life of Jesus, I see the same idea in Jesus's life, where he spent his life serving people, and so that they could thrive. And 2,000 years later, his life and what we read about his life is enabling people to still thrive. So, what does that mean to me as a business owner? Because, like I said, I'm not Jesus. It means I've got to build systems in our business so that people can thrive. It means being able to take advantage of whatever I can so that people are in the highest position to add the most amount of value to the business, but also to their own lives. To the extent that I can nurture that, to the extent that I can serve that, to the extent that I can remove friction from the people that work under my care, they will have an opportunity to thrive. And I believe God does all that part. I don't do that part. I don't live people's lives for them, but I can give them an environment to thrive. I also think that I have to reflect or show people how to make that happen. How do I serve people? It happens in the way that I speak. It happens in the policies that I set with our team. It happens with the decisions that I make. And so Samuel, much like Samuel, wanted Israel to know God. He wanted the Hebrews to know God. He knew that God's plans and relationship created a better world compared to not. And I find that very instructful. Of all of the ontologies and theologies and ideas that are out in the business community, the simplest ones seem to be reflected in the very basic story arc of the Bible. God created us, that we are exactly where he wants us to be for his purposes, and that every day he is making this broken world better, and he's doing that through people who are going into the world and subduing the things of this world, removing friction in this world. They're not subduing people. They're not trying. God's plan never called for us to have authority over people. God's plan for us was to have authority over problems and over the things in this world that are broken. And as business owners, we get the chance to go into the marketplace and do that with a group of people. Hopefully, whether you're, have one person on your team or thousands of people on your team, it doesn't change the exercise. We're to lead, we're to serve, we're to go out and push out the walls of God's kingdom where there is no suffering, there is no heartache. Might not happen in my lifetime, maybe in the next one, but I think that's what we're called to do. And I think First Samuel 12 gives us a very clear example of what it means to be human, right? This is what God wanted. This is what you wanted. God said, okay, but here's what you should know. And then in the life of Jesus, I see quite the opposite, where Jesus says, what does my Father want? I'll go and do it. And 2,000 years later, his life is still helping people thrive. And I think as a business owner, I've got to ask myself that question. How am I taking care of who's been given to me, and then what shape are they going to be in one day when I step back? And hopefully the shape that they're in is a shape that allows them to continue to thrive, whether they're part of what we're doing